despacito. Feliz Navidad. Feliz Navidad. I'm making a sandwich now. Feliz Navidad. Prospero año y felicidad. I wanna wish you a Merry Christmas. I wanna wish you a Merry Christmas. I wanna wish you a Merry Christmas from the bottom of my heart. Feliz Navidad, Feliz Navidad, Feliz Navidad. Prospero año, felicidad. Feliz Navidad. Eggs. Y'all love eggs? Huevos. Feliz Navidad, prospero año y felicidad. I wanna wish you a Merry Christmas. Feliz Navidad. At everyone, I am live now. Please come join me. Oh, Rich is live? I didn't know that. Hold on. I'm still live.
Right, but you can still have a Christmas tree. I don't get it. I don't know, man.
This is the Luigi case. Kind of early. How's everybody doing today? Up right there. Can you hear the video? Nope.
Legal mind that we need to break down what is happening in the Luigi Mangione case. He's been studying it. We go to you for everything.
Thank you.
And so we're coming to you tonight.
Yeah.
But first, before we dig into your legal analysis, let's cue up Lisa Evers. She's going to take us through what happened in court.
A tense day here at Manhattan Criminal Court as week 2 of this pretrial hearing for Luigi Mangione gets underway. Both prosecutors and the defense team turning up the heat to try to get critical backpack evidence included and excluded. Now, the 27-year-old accused CEO killer, an Ivy League graduate, was back in court again today, sitting at that defense table in this high-stakes pretrial hearing. He was bent over at times, paying close attention to the many minutes of Altoona police body cam video presented by each side to bolster their main contentions. On the prosecution side, that it should be included what was inside: a gun, a silencer, and other things that they feel are key evidence to getting a conviction. On the defense side, they said that there was a lot of problems with both the search and the fact of him not being read his rights on time. On the witness hot seat most of the day, Altoona Police Department officer Christine Wasser, a 19-year veteran who did the controversial bag search. She testified under oath that she thought there might be an explosive device or bomb in the backpack.
If there was a bomb,
that's why she searched
right
it, seeming to help prosecutors. But she also admitted that one of her supervisors told her it was okay to search the bag since Mangione was under arrest for a fake ID, while another clearly told her this is serious and they should get a warrant. Luigi Mangione has pleaded not guilty to murder and other charges, which, if he's found guilty here in state court, could keep him behind bars for the rest of his life.
How you doing,
in Lower
guys?
Manhattan, I'm Lisa Evers for Newsroom Live.
All right, Lisa, thanks. Okay, so Lisa just kind of giving us the rundown. Peter, as you know, Luigi Mangione wasn't in court on Friday. We were actually hoping that this whole thing would be wrapped up last week. Boy, do we have another thing coming.
Sure
Because I
do.
feel like this feels like the
But
trial
they'll get
before the
appeal no
trial.
matter what.
That's exactly right. That's exactly what it is. It's a mini trial. And we're on witness number 7, I think, of 25, 27.
Well, that's a lot
So
of
the
witnesses.
witnesses are going to start to go more quickly. We've been
We
at
hope.
basically one witness
No,
a
this is
day
about
for the past
Luigi
couple of days. I've been in the
Mangione.
courtroom a lot watching it. And, both sides are really struggling to kind of fit the facts, the testimony, into their respective narrative to try to convince the judge.
Why you sticking the middle
either
finger
from
up
the
at me,
government
bro? That's
standpoint that
rude.
there was no impropriety, or from the defense standpoint that,
He's
hey,
no
you got to
freaking
throw some
hero.
of this
You don't
evidence
kill
out
people
because Mr.
for no
Mangione's
reason.
Fourth and Fifth Amendment rights were violated.
Do they
Even
normally
if he,
front load the most
even
important
if the
witnesses?
guy
I
was
feel
an
like at a
asshole,
trial
he still don't kill
usually,
people.
I mean, you can tell us, but you sketch out a narrative and your witnesses follow the narrative. So it might not be your most important person on day one.
Right.
But
they
it
should-
has to fit the story that you're trying to have play out. Is it the same way in this suppression hearing, or is it, are you getting all the good ones first and then we're gonna kind of like peter out as we go?
So the first thing is, this is so atypical of what these pretrial hearings usually look like. You usually have 2, 3 witnesses, not 25, 27. And yeah, in a situation like this, the prosecution wants to get their best witnesses out as quickly as possible. There's no jury here, it's up to the judge, so you want to make sure you have the judge's attention. You want to make sure that you have the testimony that the judge needs
Don't
to
forget to hit
hear
that like
to
and
make the
subscribe
ultimate
button,
decision
everyone.
that
I
he
need that
has to
help.
make. So yeah, that's really what's going on. That's
Thank you.
why it's been so slow, because the morning's basically been the prosecution direct testimony, and the afternoons have been the defense on cross-examination.
Got it. Okay. So as you were saying, this is so incredibly atypical. I mean, it strikes me as interesting as somebody who's not an attorney, and I don't play one on TV, but like it feels like they're really getting a chance, almost like a comic goes to, not that this is in any way funny, but like almost like a comic or an actor or whatever tries their stuff in different places before they
But
reach
we
the
don't
main
do
stage.
history
It feels
here
that way. Like they're able
on
to
this
see
channel. I'm sorry.
what storylines or what lines of questioning work and don't work.
Yeah, totally, because all of these questions and answers obviously being taken down by a stenographer, and they're going to be used going forward at a trial, not only the state trial, but don't forget, there's going to be
Hey,
a
how you
federal
doing,
trial
Angie?
as well.
Long
So
time no
these
see.
witnesses are testifying under oath. Part of the defense strategy, and part of what the prosecution is doing as well, is trying to lock the witnesses into answers that then that can be used to craft the questioning later on at the trial. So we're seeing a lot of that, but we're really into the crux of the case right here, because last week we had the 2 officers who first had contact with Mr. Mangione at the McDonald's,
let him free.
and today
He
we had
committed
this
a crime.
patrolman Wasser, who was the one that went through his backpack at McDonald's and found a lot of the really critical evidence that the prosecution wants to use against him. So it's going to be really interesting to see whether or not the court finds that Officer Wasser was correct in going through the knapsack, or whether there was a violation of his Fourth Amendment rights.
Now, we always say that the NYPD is the gold standard, really,
It's all
of
right.
any police department. I'm sure if you live in another city, you might think that you're police, but like really, it seems like globally, the NYPD is upheld as the best of the best. This officer that was
I
on
know,
the
but
stand
we still
today
can't
is from
take the
Altoona,
laws into-
Pennsylvania, right? The Altoona-
Correct.
Into
So
our
not
own
to say
hands.
anything against them or their experience, but one may assume that they don't have the level of experience that you would have if this happened in New York, right? So could it be that they didn't know, or
Back
they
pain and
didn't
stuff
know
like
what
that.
questions to ask or what to say or how to do it, or could this just, I mean,
That's 1,000%.
The Bible doesn't
You just nailed it.
The Bible
Teresa.
doesn't
It's,
say that.
What is Altoona? 40, 50,000 people, and you're talking about police officers who have
God doesn't
never
say
come across a situation like
somebody
this
does you
before.
wrong, you should do
this
them wrong
was
too.
Huge news for them, and aside from the fact that this was a kind of unusual fact pattern, you have someone alleged to have committed a crime, 250 miles away, wanted for murder, potentially
the
facing
Bible
a
said
death
you should-
penalty.
in the New
and
Testament
you need
says-
to try to
in the
handle
Ten
this the
Commandments,
right
what it
way to
says.
make sure that you're not violating any of his rights, so that you're not compromising
What
the
the
integrity of the
first- what
prosecution.
the Ten Commandments
really
says.
difficult under
Thou
these
shalt not kill.
circumstances. So it's for that reason that the defense is really hammering the officers with respect to every step they made. And I believe there was some missteps along the way.
So the big thing is the backpack, right? And I remember hearing a legal expert say last week, there was this theory of like arm's reach, like if, you can explain this more, but if something is within arm's reach of you, are the police allowed to search that without a warrant?
Well,
and this may have been a little bit more than arm's reach?
You know, the general rule in New York is that to search a closed container,
That's in the Old
backpack, a
Testament, but we
suitcase,
live in the
something
New
like that,
Times.
there's a presumption that you need a warrant to do it. Now, there are exceptions. Some of the exceptions are exigent circumstances, and today there was testimony that the officer searched because she thought there was a bomb, potentially.
Right, so what happens if, like, let's just play that out. What happens if there actually was a bomb in the backpack and they searched it and it didn't detonate, and then you come to do this suppression hearing? Would she have, I mean, would that be more acceptable than not because there's a threat of danger?
100%, but you can't just accept her word that she thought that there was a bomb, because during cross-examination, the defense said, well, you thought there may be a bomb. Did you clear the restaurant? I mean, you did a partial search. You didn't search the entire bag until you brought it back to the precinct. You know,
Yeah,
they
this
didn't
is
search the
suspicious.
bag for 20 some odd minutes after, you know, from the time that they got there. So
I know, but
does this make sense? Are these the things that you would actually
have to still
do
follow the Ten
if you
Commandments.
thought that there was a bomb? Would you call a bomb squad? You know, wouldn't you do some of those things? So essentially what the defense is saying is that she's not credible when she says that she thought there was a bomb, and ultimately it's going to be up to the judge to decide whether or not he believes that there were exigent circumstances and the search was conducted because there was a bomb. There are other exceptions
We
as
got
well.
the New
to your
Testament, we
point.
got the Old
You know,
Testament.
was this
But we
search
live in the New
incident to a
Testament
lawful
times.
arrest? He was being arrested for giving a fake name and having a fake ID. Did that provide them with a legal basis to search the backpack? Another issue that this judge is going to have to decide. Very complicated. You have to put the facts to the law to try to make a determination as to whether or not his rights were violated.
So that takes us to the Fourth Amendment, right? Whether or not his Fourth Amendment rights were violated. I feel like everybody's got to go back to civics class and go, okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, now 5, Miranda rights.
Right.
And that was a big thing last week too, right? Because he kept asking for an attorney.
Yeah, I mean, that's huge, Teresa, because in New York, the standard is if it's custodial interrogation. Custodial means, are you free to leave? Would a reasonable person, innocent of any crime, believe that they could leave, right? It doesn't mean custodial, you're in handcuffs or you're in a jail cell. And in this particular instance, there were 10, 12 police officers surrounding him.
I wouldn't be able to
So
think
the
of
defense is
actually.
making the argument, look, he wasn't in handcuffs, but he was clearly in custody. He wasn't
he
free to
couldn't leave.
leave, right? So you couple that with the fact that he was being questioned repeatedly for a long period of time. 2 + 2 = 4. He was in custody and he was being interrogated. So the defense is saying, look, based on the facts and circumstances, and you have it all on the body-worn camera video of everything that took place at McDonald's, you've got to throw these statements out because it was a violation of his Fifth Amendment rights. He wasn't Mirandized, given his Miranda warnings, until much further along in the process.
So we know that Karen Agnifilo is a top defense attorney, right? So she is doing what she is paid to do. But I do wonder, Mangione is somebody who, from what we understand, comes from means. I don't know if his family is contributing in any way, but we know that he grew up somewhat wealthy. There is a huge GoFundMe or crowdsourcing to help raise money for him. So he's got funds behind him. What is happening in this pretrial suppression hearing? You said it's not typical in terms of length or in terms of breadth, but would any other criminal defendant who maybe didn't have access to someone of Karen's caliber get the same shake at this? I mean, is this one of those things where what happened in the Altoona, Pennsylvania McDonald's and the missteps that may or may not have been made are something that
should've waited
any
for the
defense
warrant.
attorney would have picked up on because they're that glaring? Or is this the result of really fine-tuned lawyering?
It's such a great question. Like, you really hit the nail on the head. The short answer is it's the result of top-notch lawyering is really what it is. A lot of lawyers, a lot of clients don't have the resources to put into a defense. If you have a court-appointed lawyer, some of them are excellent, but they also don't always have the resources. So, you know, it's unfortunate, but to your point, when you have essentially unlimited resources, you can do all sorts of things that a normal person who's charged with a crime doesn't get the benefit of doing. And at the end of the day, it makes a huge difference when you get to court.
Yeah, not to put you out of business, but this is why we need the public defenders, right? I mean, this is why you need people who are well-trained in order to step up and pay when others can't.
Yeah,
I
totally.
do wonder if this is a case, and then we'll let you go after this, because you gotta go eat dinner. But I do wonder, though, if this is a case that ultimately, whatever the outcome is, right? Whenever this case is done and they move on to the federal case and whatever ends up happening here, if this is a case that's gonna be taught in law school because of the, you know, the issues with the Fourth and Fifth Amendment rights, the chain of custody, and all of the different things that have gone on.
Yeah, I mean, this case has everything. It's got, you know, so much to unpack. And what's also unusual about it is that I don't know if you've been down to the courtroom in the courthouse, but Mr. Mangione has an incredible following of people,
I mean, it's
and it's
amazing.
not
who are not only contributing to his defense fund, but who are also in the courthouse, in court, outside, every day, supporting him. So, you know, this is one of those sensational cases that, you know, you don't see, you know, every day.
Yeah.
It's just, it's got so much going
But admittedly,
on.
we are seeing them more. Like we saw it with Ghislaine Maxwell. There was a line of people every day to go see that case.
So with Diddy also.
We saw it with Diddy, even Weinstein. We saw it with Danny Masterson. I mean, there have been cases. It seems like this is now the norm, not the norm, but because there's nothing normal about this. But it seems like people, especially with the rise of true crime on TikTok and all of that,
True crime is the best.
many more people are willing to take a day, waste a day, do whatever.
I mean, not to get too much in the weeds, but, you know, you've got people that are supporting him because of their hatred for the healthcare system.
Right.
You know, meanwhile, if it ends up that he's convicted, you know, I'm not sure that that's, you know, the hill that you want to die on, and that's the way that you want to support whatever your grievances are with the healthcare system. So we shall see.
Peter, thank you so much.
It's my
I
pleasure.
appreciate you spending
Yeah.
your dinner time with us and
My
all your
pleasure.
legal analysis. This is not going to end anytime soon, so we're going to be calling up.
Okay.
Yeah, it's gonna take a while before they decide, and most likely, I wouldn't be surprised if it goes to the United States Supreme Court will listen to that case in a couple of years, if Luigi doesn't get his way.
Guys, if you thought everything in Hollywood was already gay, just wait until the Netflix Warner Brother merger goes through. All right, so I don't know about you guys, but my entire social media feed across TikTok and X and Instagram is completely dominated by the news that Netflix just won the bidding war to completely acquire Warner Brothers. I mean, like, can you imagine? I was thinking about this morning. Could you imagine telling yourself 15 years ago that the DVD rental company Netflix was going to one day be buying Warner Brothers? Like, that is just simply insane. But yes, that is the news that came out on Friday. I'm filming this on Friday, so it came out this morning. And you might be thinking, like, Brett, why are you doing an episode on this? Why do I care about what is going on in Hollywood with these streaming services? Well, possibly nothing. You literally might not care at all, but this is already becoming a huge political issue, and it will definitely have an impact on viewers and possibly more importantly, the content that we and our families all consume. But before we dive into that, make sure that you guys check out CooperConfidential.com, which is our subscription platform, which has brand new farm vlogs, behind the scenes things, cooking vlogs, birth stories, plus ad-free episodes. All of that is CooperConfidential.com. And of course, make sure that you like this video, subscribe to the Brett Cooper Show channel if you've not already, and ring that notification bell so you never miss one of our amazing episodes. So a few months ago, Warner Brothers began receiving offers from Netflix, Paramount, and Comcast. And everybody and their mother thought that Paramount was going to bring this deal home, quote, thanks to a combination of financial firepower, political relationships, which you'll see is very important, and a relatively smoother regulatory path. And that was the assumption up until a few hours before the news broke. But as of this morning, Friday morning, it was announced that Netflix is officially the winner. They are acquiring Warner Brothers for a whopping $83 billion. In their press release, they said that our mission has always been to entertain the world. By combining Warner Brothers' incredible library of shows and movies, from timeless classics like Casablanca and Citizen Kane to modern favorites like Harry Potter and Friends, with our culture-defining titles like Stranger Things, K-pop, Demon Hunters, and Squid Game. I'm sorry, like comparing Casablanca to Squid Game and K-pop Demon Hunters should not be allowed. Like, this is just too insane. Anyway, just had to say that. They said we will be able to do that even better. Together, we can give audiences more of what they love and help define the next century of storytelling. This acquisition will help improve our offering and accelerate our business for decades to come. They said with their reach and proven business model, we can introduce a broader audience to the worlds that they create, Warner Brothers, giving our members more options, attracting more fans to our best-in-class streaming service, strengthening the entire entertainment industry, and creating more value for shareholders, which is just like so funny to me. I don't know if you guys are on TikTok, but there's such a joke on there where it's like, clocking in for my corporate job, I'm just here to make more value for shareholders. And so this line from their press release has been going viral simply for that reason. They're like, all right, we're going to blow up the entire entertainment industry, but at least we're bringing value to shareholders. And in my mind, this trajectory for Netflix makes complete sense, because from the beginning, Netflix has openly stated that they wanted to not only own streaming, but they also wanted to own production. They're making their own TV shows. They're making their own movies. Obviously, it's a little slower going, probably not as high quality as some of the other big studios, but they have been putting themselves in the race. They want to be there. And since every production studio and other network has watched the success of Netflix and then decided to start their own streaming platforms like Peacock and Paramount Plus and HBO Max, all of that, it made Netflix's goal a little bit harder. And so therefore, by acquiring Warner Brothers and their entire catalog and HBO Max and their production capabilities, they've done it. Like, this is basically the end of the entertainment industry as we know it, because it would be nearly impossible for anybody else to edge out the hold that Netflix will now have on Hollywood. This tweet summed it up well. This guy said, not just Warner Brothers. Haters said that Netflix would never be as big as HBO. They now have 300 million subscribers versus HBO's 20 million. Haters said Netflix would never be as quality as HBO. Then in 2021, they won more Emmy Awards than HBO. And today, they just bought HBO. And DC Studios, Harry Potter, Game of Thrones, Looney Tunes, Mortal Kombat, The Matrix, Mad Max, and hundreds more in their library, which are now up for remake if the deal goes through. And so that being said, and controversy aside, and there is controversy, and we will talk about it, do not worry, but all of that aside, that alone just kind of is a badass story arc for Netflix. So
the reason they don't consider it a monopoly because other company exists.
Snaps for them, I guess. But it is not all rainbows and sunshine, because Netflix is also acquiring Warner Brothers $33+ billion in debt. Hence, I think why there was a motivator for them to do a merger. Now, it is also important to note that Netflix is not acquiring every single Warner Brothers property, because Warner Brothers had already decided to do a split down the middle for their business, where they would keep their streaming and their production studio in one category, and then the other category would be their cable networks, which will now be something called Global Discovery. And that means that things like CNN, Discovery Channel, HGTV, True TV, Turner Classics, the Food Network, they will all go to Global Discovery. So do not worry, we are not about to have a Netflix CNN collaboration, at least not yet. And honestly, Netflix might help that poor network. I have no idea. But anyway, that is not coming to your TVs anytime soon. So what does this leave Netflix with? Well, it leaves them with the biggest catalog of movies and TV shows, from Friends to Harry Potter to DC Comics, like you heard earlier. And in a very uninvolved way, again, taking the controversy out of this, like as a consumer of this already pre-existing, pre-produced content, I look at this and I'm like, whatever. Like, streaming is king now. Like, this is one less subscription platform to keep up with. It's me saving time from having to Google
and
to see
money.
Which platform the movie that I want to watch is on. Like, it's consolidated. It seems simple for the consumer. But that is not the bigger issue here, and we need to go deeper, because it does seem like this will have a massive impact on the future of entertainment. And shockingly, this is actually bringing people together from across the aisle. Like, even Jack Posobiec and Elizabeth Warren are agreeing on something. Like, the only other thing that they're agreeing on is how amazing the Boncharge infrared sauna blanket is. And guys, this thing is incredible. I literally have my sauna blanket right here. It is amazing. It gives you all the benefits of an infrared sauna, like sweating out toxins, boosting circulation, easing sore muscles, improving sleep, all of the things. But it is in the comfort of your own home, literally in my room. No spa appointment, calmer, clearer, and room. It's easy. Speaking of game changers, let me tell you about my friends over at Dupe.com. Dupe.com is start saving on holiday gift. Rice, who worked both under Obama and Biden as the national security advisor and the domestic policy advisor, is on Netflix's board. And she was brought onto the board to use her political expertise to drive the company forward in that way. And so Posobiec's argument is that this is just giving Netflix more political power over everything that we and our families watch and consume. And I mean, they have already been at the forefront of politicizing content and remakes, and this just gives them even more content, infrastructure, and opportunities to do so. And in Jack Posobiec's mind, I think this is a really interesting argument, is that this is what MK Ultra has turned into. And somebody responded to him saying that and said, yes, MK Ultra never left, it just evolved. Instead of dosing one person with acid, they dosed billions with repetitive scripting, trauma imagery, and behavioral nudging. Watched a bit of The Beast in Me the other night. That's a new show. First episode had a child death, presumably to shake people into an altered state, and then commenced into hypnotic programming. Within a few episodes, there was already a lesbian protagonist, a straight white male, secretly evil and murderous antagonist. Bad guy expressed anti-socialist views and pro-right-wing views, living away from cities mocked. AOC type showed his hero, who was uncorruptible, violent agent provocateur, guesses of the OG Disney movies that I would watch, but that was it. And her reason for that, aggressive predatory corporations on planet Earth do. A lot of just normal people, normal consumers commented about and said, are sharing online, which is that now Netflix will effectively control the entire entertainment industry, and that this will be the final nail in the coffin for independent films and for movie theaters. Because Warner Brothers, the company, will now give Netflix the infrastructure to produce and create whatever they want. They don't have to buy from anybody else anymore. And theoretically, they will be able to take those projects, those TV shows, those movies, and put them directly onto Netflix without going to theaters. They're completely jumping over the theatrical system. Variety wrote about this letter and said that these producers said that Netflix could stand to destroy the theatrical marketplace by escalating or eliminating the amount of time that Warner Brothers films would play in theaters before hitting a combined Netflix HBO Max streaming platform. But apparently, if Paramount were to buy it instead of Netflix, they were going to allow Warner Brothers to operate as a standalone business and produce films for theaters. I think they were going to do 14 theatrical releases a year. And so because of that, people were far more in favor of that acquisition. And even outside of the industry, outside of that list of Hollywood elites and producers, people just don't seem thrilled about this kind of bottlenecking. Like one guy, Jake, said, HBO has made some of the greatest TV shows of all time. Warner Brothers has made some of the best movies ever. Netflix has made some of the worst of both. They will not have the same level of excellence with their new work that Warner Brothers did. This is horrible for the film and TV industry. And listen, like, he's not wrong. It is funny to think about, like, you know, Warner Brothers and HBO, they have The Sopranos and True Detective and Big Little Lies, and then Netflix has Bridgerton. It's like, okay, we really can't compare here. And like, no hate at all, because I definitely have watched Bridgerton, but it is just a funny comparison. And the thing is, there is an audience for all of that, for all of those shows, and Netflix knows that. That is why they want to merge. That is why they want to buy Warner Brothers, because now they are capturing both. But again, people see that as being at the expense of traditional storytelling and movie magic. HD Movie Source on X said, Netflix buying Warner Brothers feels like the end of an era. This is not about growing cinema. It is about locking everything into streaming and forgetting what made movies matter in the first place. Warner Brothers was the studio that gave us classics on the big screen, and now it is swallowed by a company that only cares about pushing content through an app. When you put it that way, guys, like, it genuinely is very depressing. Like, thinking about we're completely jumping over movie theaters. We're missing the in-person magic of storytelling. People are not going to Broadway shows anymore. We're not going to theater. Tech is taking over everything in our world. AI is replacing jobs. I mean, like, I'm blackpilling you guys right now, but that is what this feels like. He goes on and he says, collectors know the difference. Physical releases, theaters, the shared experience of film, that's humanity. That's like real person interaction art. Why. That is cinema. When the focus shifts to streaming only, you lose the artistry, the permanence, the respect for the medium. It is not progress. It is the death of cinema dressed up as convenience. We will know more in 4 years when all the current productions have played out. That is when the real impact will be clear. And the thing is, the CEOs of Netflix are not actually denying any of this, because when pressed, one of them said, no, we're saving Hollywood. We are in a period of transition. Folks grew up thinking, I want to make movies on a gigantic screen and have strangers watch them, and to play them in the theater for 2 months and have people cry and have sold out shows. It is an outdated concept. I mean, like, I don't even know, like, that's just so sad, but there you have it. The writing is on the wall. They are not mincing words at all. Apparently, those authors chose to leave that letter unsigned. They decided to be anonymous, quote, not out of cowardice, but out of fear of retaliation, given Netflix's considerable power as a buyer and a distributor. So they are really driving the point home that they cannot even attach their names to this letter because of how powerful Netflix already is and how powerful it will become after this merger. But other people who are already big names in the industry were happy to attach their names. Mark Ruffalo in fact, tweeted out an op-ed by Jane Fonda against the sale, which is just like so classic, because if you have followed anything in politics over the last 10 years, like whatever the current thing is, Mark Ruffalo and Jane Fonda, they will be on the front lines. They will be protesting. They will be tweeting. And so, of course, they believe that this is, quote, a threat to democracy. Now, I have concerns about this merger. I don't know how this is going to work in Hollywood, but them saying that this is a threat to democracy makes me want it to go through. I'm like, okay, this is laughable. This is not a threat to democracy, but that's just my gut response because I don't like the two. Anyway, moving on, Christopher Nolan, who is the president of the Directors Guild of America, also spoke out and he said, quote, "We believe that a vibrant, competitive industry, one that fosters creativity and encourages genuine competition for talent, is essential to safeguarding the careers and creative rights of directors and their teams." And I just have to say,
That was earlier. That was a couple of days ago. Then earlier today, 4 hours.
Let us get to that breaking news regarding Hollywood's hot mess and the battle over Warner Brothers Discovery. That hot mess has gone hostile. This afternoon, 4.5 hours after Paramount Skydance launched a hostile takeover bid for WBD that's higher than Netflix's offer for the streaming and studio business, Warner Brothers has now responded. In a statement released at 1:30 p.m. Eastern, WBD confirmed receipt of the $30 a share or $108 billion unsolicited tender offer to acquire the entire company and said it will advise shareholders within 10 days what the board recommends. Warner Brothers shares moving up 4.8%. I believe that's a one-year high. Paramount, Skydance, and Netflix, well, they're flipping positions today. Friday, Netflix was up, P-Sky was down, and now Paramount Skydance is up 7.5%. Netflix losing just under 4%. What does this all mean? Who's going to win this thing? Joining me now, Netflix shareholder Gerber Kawasaki, president and CEO of Ross Gerber and Needham, senior media and internet analyst Laura Martin.
That's hostile takeover.
It's true that Netflix is your company's largest holding, correct?
It's not our largest holding. It's one of our largest holdings.
One of your largest holdings. Okay. So first, your gut reaction. Netflix was up on Friday, and now it is down as we see this hostile takeover bid from Paramount Skydance.
Well, at first I thought Netflix's main goal was just to drive up the price for Ellison and make it expensive for him because it's going to be a competitor to Netflix in the future, what Paramount Skydance is doing. And many people in Hollywood are very bullish on what Ellison is doing at Paramount Skydance. And so the fact that Netflix actually won this, I was pretty surprised that they were that aggressive in trying to actually win this, because I'm not sure what they would do with Warner Brothers and how that would actually create value for Netflix shareholders other than protecting their moat and making sure there's never going to be a competitor to Netflix. And so one could easily argue that there's antitrust issues to look at, and that's a reality that this deal faces, because there would be less competition in Hollywood if this deal happens. So right now it's real messy, and I still actually think Paramount Skydance is going to win, and I think their all-cash offer right now in a lot of ways is superior to Netflix's, and they've got the government on their side, and a lot of this is politics, and so I'd be shocked to see them lose.
Well, to that point about the government being on their side, first, Laura, there was all this chatter that Ted Sarandos of Netflix had actually been meeting with President Trump and has had a pretty good relationship with him. And then, of course, we know how close the president is with the Ellisons. So Larry Ellison, the father of David Ellison, is a donor. And then, of course, Sunday night, last night, he comes out and says while he's at the Kennedy Center that, well, you know, they'd have a lot of market share in streaming if it were a Netflix Warner Brothers Discovery pairing. So now Ross already said he thinks Paramount's going to win this. Who do you think is going to win this?
You know, my opinion is that the regulatory path is smoothest for the Ellisons, because remember, Donald Trump involved the dad, Larry Ellison, not David, who actually runs P-Sky, in the TikTok deal. So I think they are fast friends. And a lot of things we hear coming out of Trump's mouth feel like they were dictated by the dad, Larry Ellison, about why P-Sky taking over. And by the way, Trump's son-in-law is one of the investors in the P-Sky bid, but of course not in the Netflix bid. So all of this feels like this is a deal with the administration, and they're like the administration is sort of part of the P-Sky bid. So I would say they can close it faster with more, not only faster, but with more certainty. And I think that's better for shareholders.
Laura, Netflix's is a $72 billion bid, $27.75 a share, but that's just for the streaming and for the studio. On the other hand, P-Sky comes out, busting a move, $30 a share, 108 billion, depending on how you look at it, for the whole shooting match, the cable assets as well. So doesn't this all come down to what the cable stub is worth here, the Discovery channels and
Also, they
all
buying
of the cable
everything.
stuff?
That's why.
Well, in terms of valuation,
Laura first, and then Ross.
Sorry. No, I was just going to say, part of the valuation that you have to look at is who's going to run the assets better, right? In my opinion, and what's your tax status? Like, one of the nice things about the Netflix deal is it has a piece of equity of Netflix, and it leaves you a piece of equity of the stub, which if you're a full taxpayer, you like those because they don't have a tax consequence immediately if you're a retail investor. The all-cash bid by Paramount is taxed for cash right now. So there's a tax difference. So that goes into valuation. It's not as simple as what you just said, Liz. And then the other thing is, who do you think is running these assets better? Like, Netflix has a long track record of building businesses, although they're a little dogmatic and they've said they hate the they hate the theatrical window. So that's terrifying to Hollywood.
In fact, hold up. Can we put up Cinemark, CNK, if we could? Last check, they got hammered on Friday. AMC did as well. These are the theater operators. I saw Cinemark earlier was down as well. So I'm
surprised
it. I think
Amazon
you're right. It is a
didn't get
lot more
involved.
complicated, Laura. Ross, give me your
Amazon
thought on what
wants
you
to
wanted
buy
say about this.
everything.
And does anybody really? I do,
Usually.
because I came from Los Angeles. I know the creative community. They're up in arms about all of this. They really feel that the creative aspects of all of this are getting lost in these merger talks.
Well, that's true. And what is old Hollywood, this would essentially put a nail in the coffin to what that is. And what new Hollywood would be in the future is pretty uncertain right now. And it certainly looks much more like the Netflix world. But I would also argue that nobody's made any money on Warner Brothers stock, so I don't think there's a tax issue for most investors in Warner Brothers. In fact, I would argue the opposite. They'll be happy to get their money back in cash and get out of this nightmare. So it's actually amazing how much they're willing to pay for this dog asset that's worth no more than $15. So either way, both parties are vastly overpaying for the asset, and it's mostly because it's such a rare asset to be for sale, but it's also because they're bidding against each other. And so how this plays out, in my mind, still goes towards P-Sky. But if Netflix succeeds in this, not only will P-Sky have to pay them almost $3 billion if they don't go through the deal with Netflix, remember that's part of this deal, but it's also
billion,
like
right?
a huge, no, it's $5 billion breakup fee. But if Netflix isn't chosen as the suitor, Paramount will have to pay Netflix because they already accepted the offer. And so, you know, the way this will work itself out, and a lot of it is politics, and it really comes down to, just because Trump had dinner with Sanders and Hastings are Democrats, and they're very supportive Democrats, and Ellison and Trump and Kushner are involved with P-Sky. And I think a lot of people in Hollywood would rather see Netflix have a competitor, even if they don't love Ellison. But I think people like Ellison in Hollywood. So I think that's just the way it goes. And I think it's better for Netflix if that's actually what happens. And maybe their plan really was just
it feels like no matter what happens, Netflix will be fine. Ross, Laura, thank you very, very much. And yes, the theater operators are jumping today. Cinemark up 7.5% on the idea that Paramount, which is big on theatricals, would be the one. We shall see as we continue to watch.
Yeah, they trying something new. 30-minute shipping. You don't think they can beat that on? I think I'm gonna take a break. I'll be back later, guys. Thank you for joining me. I'll be back in a few hours, maybe around 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. Thank you for joining me. That's cool. Thank you. I'll be back in like 2, 3 hours. Thank you for joining me. Bye.